is, watch out, because it seems as though a lot is going to be coming in the next few days and weeks. Leland?
Yeah. For sure. Just getting a little bit more about what the president's going to say, talking about this idea of a 20% dividend of whatever Doge saves. Obviously, the accounting on this is going to be interesting in terms of there may be a difference between what Elon Musk says he thinks he can save versus what actually is saved. President Trump seems to want to do a lot of things. Wants to reduce the deficit. He wants Doge. He wants to end the war in Ukraine. But specifically when it comes to spending money and lowering taxes, money, yes, it can be printed, but money is not fungible in that sense, that every dollar that they give in a dividend is a dollar that they can't go to lowering taxes, or is a dollar that they can't go to reducing the deficit. At some point right now, does the math matter at all to Donald Trump's supporters?
I don't think it matters to supporters, and I don't think it matters to him. Donald Trump is not a deficit hawk. He doesn't really think the debt ceiling is real. I think that he has a kind of very fungible view of this. He wants to do great things for the American economy, and I think that's his number one priority. I don't think he cares about the other things that, typical Republicans and conservatives care about when it comes to fiscal responsibility. The
quaint issues of fiscal responsibility we shall not be burdened by. I think that's actually a fair way of saying it. It's just sort of how he views the world in that sense, just going through some of the other things that the president said. One of them, back to Robert, Trump says the federal government should take over the District of Columbia. We've heard him have, shall we say, some choice words for Muriel Bowser, the mayor of D.C. Think this is real or just a negotiating tactic?
It's hard to tell, right, Leland? Especially, with what we've seen and heard from the president in recent days and weeks. But, this is something that he did speak to reporters about, and says that, at least publicly, he's saying that he's very serious about it and thinks that this is something that could come under the federal government's purview here. And, of course, he's had choice words in the past for the way that D.C. has been run here. It's hard to say, but certainly you've seen some strong rhetoric coming from the president on a multitude of different issues, and you cannot argue with the fact that it has yielded movement on a number of these issues here, whether that's the border and having tough posturing with Mexico and Canada, or whether that's a situation in Ukraine and being able to bring the Russians to the table. Either way, you have seen movement as a result of that rhetoric. Yeah. Whether we end there or not, that always remains to be seen.
Maya, I think what Robert just said is important about the movement that has happened on the border. And the numbers are now, I don't want to say infinitesimal, but they have gotten extraordinarily low of the number of people coming across. And that's because the word has gone out. Not only is there more security on the border, the policies have changed on and on and on, but the word has gone out to people: don't spend your life savings to try to come to the United States illegally. You're going to waste it. Is this one of those things that nobody cares about planes landing? Because suddenly an issue that 50, 60, 70% of Americans said was in their top 1, 2, or 3 is not reported on now?
It's a really great question. I think that in many, many ways, what we're seeing right now is a total redefinition of the executive branch and what we as Americans can expect from a president. The amount that he has accomplished just in 3 weeks, it's game changing. And I think looking back, there's never again going to be a president who can just get away with doing as little as Joe Biden did. Let's set aside even, the damage he did, but just, the slow pace that we got used to from Joe Biden, that is over, right? This is now what the American people are going to expect from their president. Someone to show up on day one, never sleep, do exactly what he promised, and convey with every executive action, you are not alone. Things are going to get better. And what Trump used to say on the campaign trail, which was, you do not have to live like this. I think a lot of people are feeling an immense sense of relief.
All right. I just want to help our viewers understand what's happening. President Trump just arrived back in D.C. From Miami. On board Air Force One, he spoke to the press pool, made an inordinate amount of news while on Air Force One, about taking over D.C., about ending federal funding for illegal immigrants. So we're staying here with this news. We'll join Banfield with her show once we get through the president's comments. The president landed about a half an hour ago. It takes a while because of security and other issues for the pool, about 13 people that travel with President Trump, and it rotates a group of journalists to get off Air Force One and then get to somewhere that they're able to feed out everything the president said. Trump was asked about paying for tax cuts while taking Medicare and Medicaid off the table. He said, I think there's going to be tremendous tariff money, number one. Number two, you look at DOGE and you see what's happening. We're saving billions of dollars. Whether that is enough or not, I don't know. But in terms of your work, your book about the working class in America, second class, is the hillbilly elegy of Trump 2024. J.D. Vance wrote the 2016 book that explained Trump's election in a very personal way. You went out and found people and explained the 2024 election. On this issue of tariffs that seems to be such a sticking point for the press, especially the press with Donald Trump, is that something that people are willing to deal, the voters that you talk to, the workers you talk to, are they able to deal, or do they care about the potential pain that comes from these tariffs if it yields to them? Stand by 1 second. Here's the president.
And I'd say that's quite good, right? By any standard, that's quite good. I shouldn't leave USA. Is anybody here from USA today?
Yesterday, we had
yesterday. We missed him. Does everybody know Stephen Chung? He's a sweetheart. You wouldn't want to get in a fight with him, right? Anyway, what's up?
Mr. President, the TikTok deal, any developments there?
No, there's a lot of people interested in TikTok, and I think we have a chance of doing something good. And we'll be speaking to China about that also, because they're a party to it, obviously. But it would be great to keep TikTok alive, sell it to somebody that's going to do a great job with it.
Did you see the CEO today at the event, sir?
Did I what?
Did you see the CEO today at the event?
No, I didn't speak. Was he there?
He was supposed to be there.
I think so, yeah, but I did not see him.
Sir, Elon Musk is proposing potentially giving money to Americans based on what DOGE is finding. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I love it. A 20% dividend, so to speak, for the money that we're saving by going after the waste and fraud and abuse and all of the other things that are happening. I think it's a great idea.
How much money do you think?
Could be a lot. I mean, if it's 20%, we'd give back a lot of money to the taxpayer. And also it would give an incentive for the taxpayer to go out and report things to us where we can save money.
So you signed an immigration-related executive order today. What do you think of ICE arrests right now? Do you think that they need to increase the number of people they're arresting?
Where?
The pace of the ICE.
No, I think they're doing a great job. You know, people that are hiding, they're professionals at hiding. That's what they've done for a big part of their lives. And they're criminals in many cases, very serious criminals, including murderers. And obviously they're not easy to capture, but they're being captured in record numbers, and they're being brought out of our country, being brought back to where they came from.
President, on Boeing, you mentioned maybe taking a different route. What would a different route entail on Boeing, with the Air Force One plane?
No, I'm not happy with Boeing. It takes them a long time to do, Air Force One. We gave that contract out a long time ago. It was a fixed price contract, and I'm not happy with the fact that it's taken so long. And we may do something else. We may go and buy a plane or get a plane or something, but I'm not happy with the fact that it's taken Boeing so long. There's no excuse for it. And they had a fixed price contract. I made that deal. And now they're losing a lot of money, and they'd like to see if they could, up the price. But I make fixed price deals. I don't like time and material deals.
Sir, the only other commercial aircraft maker that could make a plane that big is Airbus. Would you consider buying it?
I would not consider Airbus over Boeing, no. But I could buy one that was used and convert it. I could buy one from another country, perhaps, or get one from another country. So we're looking at other alternatives because it's taken Boeing too long.
Would you
they were supposed to be finished like years ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Sir,
Don't forget, I signed that contract during my term, and it was a very good contract. And I took like $1.6 billion off the price. And it was supposed to be done, quickly. And it's a long time, right?
Would you push for your preferred color scheme for Air Force
Oh, no,
One?
it's going to be that color, yeah. No matter what, it's going to be for that color.
Sir, about Gaza, do you find the Egyptian proposal to redevelop Gaza acceptable? And does that change?
I haven't seen it. When I see it, I'll let you know.
So earlier about Ukraine, you said today that you had a deal on critical minerals and Ukraine broke it.
Yeah, we had a deal where we were going to get... Look, you have to understand, Europe is being paid back the money that they put up, and they're only putting up a fraction of what we're putting up. I think they're in for $100 billion, and we're in for $350 billion. There's no reason that should have happened. It's Biden's fault. He shouldn't have allowed that to happen. But on top of it all, they're getting their $100 billion back, and we're not. And I've been talking about this for 2 years. I said, you have to loan them the money so that if things work out, they're going to pay you back. And they didn't do that. So Biden didn't do it. It's his fault. Nobody's ever seen anything so stupid. So Europe gets their money back, and they're only in for a small fraction. And obviously, everything's important, but it's more important for them because they're right next to Russia. So it's more important than we have an ocean in between us. So it's obviously more important to the European countries than it is to the U.S. But here's the thing. We don't get our money back. And we told them that the deal is we'll do something for the rare earth and some oil, et cetera, and that'll be all right. And they agreed to it more or less. And then Scott Bessent actually went there and was treated rather rudely because essentially they told him no, and Zelensky was sleeping and unavailable to meet him. He traveled many hours on the train, which is a dangerous trip. And we're talking about the Secretary of the Treasury. He went there to get a document signed. And when he got there, he came back empty. They wouldn't sign the document. But for Europe, they pay back their money. It's a loan. Think of that. And we should have had a loan, too. But we had an administration that was incompetent.
Can you resurrect that deal? Is there anything that you can do?
Yeah, I think I'm going to resurrect it. Or, we'll see what happens. But I'm going to resurrect it, or things are not going to make him too happy. And look, it's time for elections. They haven't had an election in a long time. It's wonderful to say, we can't have an election. But it's time for elections. And it's also time to find out what happened with all the money. Because he made the statement that half of it, he doesn't know where it is or something like that. And I'd like to find out all the money that we've been sending to Ukraine, where is it? And I can tell you we're doing very well with Russia. We're going to do something with Russia that he was unable to do. We can make a deal with Russia to stop the killing of, potentially additional millions of people. The soldiers are being just wiped out on both sides, wiped out. It's horrible. The weaponry today is so powerful, so, strong, that it's killing a lot of soldiers. And I don't want to see they're Russian and they're Ukrainian. I don't want to see those soldiers killed. They have mothers and fathers. They have sisters and brothers. I don't want to see them killed.
Mr. President, on tariffs, you mentioned lumber. That's something that I don't believe we've heard before. Any specific
forest products, yeah.
And do you have a rate in mind for that?
No, but we're thinking about maybe 25%.
And would that also be April 2nd? Before April 2nd?
In that vicinity, yeah. A little bit later.
And also, which car companies did you say? You said that you spoke with some car companies.
I spoke to all car companies. Everybody's coming back into America.
So these are foreign car companies?
Including foreign companies, yeah. They're going to be coming in because they don't want to pay the tariffs.
You said you'll be having lunch with some Democrats next week. Can you elaborate on who that is and what y'all plan?
Well, you'll see when I do it. But some good ones.
Are you gonna
some biggies.
Are you concerned about congressional funding?
No, I think we're going to just talk. I think it would be great if Republicans and Democrats could get along. It's time. It's time. Makes sense.
Sir, would you say you trust the Russians to negotiate in good faith going forward? Do you trust them?
I do. I think the Russians want to see the war end. And I do. I really do. But I think they have the cards a little bit because, they've taken a lot of territory. So they have the cards.
Mr. President, have you set a date for the British Prime Minister's visit to Washington?
No, he'll be coming soon, though. He's asked to come and see me. So
What about Macron?
And President of France also. Macron will be coming.
But no set dates yet?
Very soon. Maybe Monday.
Mr. President, on congestion pricing, so
it's supposed to have saved or raised about $15 billion to help the MTA. Do you have an alternative way to fund the MTA system now that there won't be?
That's up to New York. They have to do that. Look, New York's treated a lot of people very badly, and it's hard to feel sorry for what's happened in New York. It's sad to see the way they've treated people, and they continue to do it. And look at what's going on with the mayor. Look at what's going on with so many other things. So congestion pricing is not a good situation. And they're treating the people of New York very badly. Supposing you worked in a shoe shop or you worked in a restaurant as a waiter, and you have to come into Manhattan, and they're taking, many dollars out of your pocket. You can't afford to do it. And pricing, if you take a look, traffic will go down because people aren't going to come. If people don't come, that means the whole place it's going to be a disaster. So it could be, and it's probably going to show that. Traffic will come down, but that means they're not going to spend their money in New York. They'll go someplace else.
Are you prepared to go to court if lawsuits ensue?
Well, we'll see what happens. You can give me the final, because I haven't seen it as of late today because I was making a speech. Did I make a good speech? Yes. Okay. Go ahead. What else?
Can I ask you about the Chinese? So, eventually you would like to meet with President Xi. But,
I have a very good relationship with President Xi. I think a great relationship with President Xi. But remember, he loves China, and I love the USA. So, right there's a little bit of competitiveness. But the relationship I have with President Xi is, I would say, a great one.
We heard that.
It was obviously hurt by COVID coming in. It hurt them, hurt us, hurt everybody, hurt the whole world. But outside of that, I have a very, very good relationship with President Xi.
Are you looking to?
I think he's a very unique person.
Would you make a new trade deal with China? I mean, the phase one trade deal never really got.
It's possible. Well, we did a great trade deal with China. We did it great for the farmers, great for manufacturers. They had to buy $50 billion worth of our product, and we were making them buy it. The problem is that Biden didn't push them to adhere to it.
Senator, do you think D.C. should govern itself, or do you think that governing of District of Columbia should go back to Congress?
I think that we should govern District of Columbia. It's so important, the D.C. situation. I think that we should run it strong, run it with law and order, make it absolutely flawlessly beautiful. And I think we should take over Washington, D.C., make it safe. People are getting killed. People are being hurt. You have a great police department there, but somehow they're not utilized properly. We should govern D.C. I think the federal government should take over the governance of D.C. and run it really, really properly. And I like the mayor. I get along great with the mayor. But they're not doing the job. Too much crime, too much graffiti, too many tents on the lawns of these magnificent lawns, and there's tents, and, it's a sad thing. Homeless people all over the place, and we got to take care of the homeless. But you can't have that in Washington, D.C. When they come over to see me, like Macron is coming, and the Prime Minister of UK is coming, and all these people are coming over to see me. We'll have ultimately President Xi, and we'll have everybody coming, right? And you can't let that be. You just can't let that happen. You can't have tents all over your once magnificent plazas and lawns and all. You just can't do it.
We'll do a couple more.
Sir, do you think you can still pay for extending your tax cuts without cutting both Medicaid and Medicare?
Yeah, absolutely.
How's Republicans are planning to make cuts to?
Well, I think we're going to take in tremendous tariff money, number one. And number two, you take a look at Doge and you see what's happening. We're saving billions of dollars.
On Doge, do you know what they're looking at specifically at the Department of Defense right now?
Yeah, they're looking at everything.
And are they going to cut more national
They're looking at. We're going to go into Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to?
You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
that was a bad bump.
Are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll see what happens. But one of the things we do want to look, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the gold have gone?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
We haven't brought up Greenland in a while. Are you?
No. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security and international security. We have to do something with Greenland. We have to protect Greenland. But we need it for national security, and we need it, maybe more importantly, for international security.
All right, we'll just do one more.
Can I just follow up? Are you seeing it as part of any of the discussions you're having with Europeans and Putin in some sort of peace deal?
No, we have to have Greenland because of the national security picture, even more so now than it would have been 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when they talked about it then, too. You know, they used to talk about it years ago. They were talking about Greenland, but much more so now with, modern weaponry, planes and the speed of planes and all of the things. So we have to have Greenland. Thank you very much.
Can you tell us what executive orders you signed this afternoon?
All right, welcome to the Trump presidency, 10:20 p.m. at night, and the president is still talking. That was moments ago on Air Force One by the time they landed and then fed back what the president said. Couple of big news items. Number one, that he thinks that the federal government should take over Washington, D.C., someone who lives in Washington, D.C., it would be hard for it to get worse, so the federal government might actually improve this. They don't do many things well, but D.C. would be something that they could improve. Number two, we now understand why President Trump went scorched earth on Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine. President Trump saying that Zelensky reneged on a deal to give the United States mineral rights and other things out of Ukraine in exchange for all the U.S. funding for the war in Ukraine. President Trump now trying to put pressure on Vladimir Zelensky. Also said he thought that ICE is doing a great job in terms of his movement and promise to secure the border. So this is what the Trump presidency looks like. We've probably heard more from President Trump in the past month than we did from Joe Biden in the past year, maybe even 2 years, in terms of the amount of interaction he has on a daily basis with the press that travels with him. Ashleigh Banfield is next. I'll see you tomorrow night from Washington. Good night.
Expanding.
It's nuts online, too.
What's the secret?
We know humans like new toys.
So always staying one step ahead.
And with AI, we can look at so much more than sales data. Buyer behaviors, social engagement. See that? Predictive analytics.
How long have you been doing this?
As long as we've been with BDO.
People who know BDO.
I know, it's a bit weird. I'm 27 minutes late for you. I apologize. However, good reason. When the president speaks, signs really far-reaching orders. That's breaking news. This is a breaking news network. And so I will bring you breaking crime news, because there is a big kahuna that was cooking today, and it's happening now. So the news comes from Idaho. It's as big as it gets in true crime. But if your name is Brian Kohberger, the news is actually catastrophic. Late today, the judge in his quadruple murder case handed down 4 separate rulings on 4 Hail Mary moves by Kohberger's lawyers. They were moves that might have given him a shot. They might have given him a hung jury. They might even have gotten him an acquittal, because Kohberger effectively wanted the judge to throw out all of that DNA evidence that tied him right to that knife sheath that was found at the murder scene, nay, on the bodies of 2 of the victims. That evidence was game, set, match, folks, in my opinion, but in a lot of people's opinions. Kohberger also wanted any evidence found as a result of that DNA investigation buried. But he lost. He lost on all 4 fronts. And here's what I'm gonna bet happened next. The sound of the thud against his heart when he heard that news must have echoed all the way to F Block, where they are building that new firing squad chamber. Of course, nothing can ever guarantee a conviction. Kohberger's trial is set to begin July 30th with jury selection, but it is a mystery to me where on earth his lawyers are going to go from here. Where could they possibly go? I'm joined now by Steve Gonsalves, whose daughter Kaylee Gonsalves was one of the 4 students murdered at 1122 King Road, allegedly by Bryan Kohberger. Steve, it's good to have you tonight, especially with this incredibly earth-shattering news in this case. I can just see it on your face. This is such welcome news to you.
Yeah, this was a day that we've been looking forward to for almost 2.5 years. And it's kind of like the last Hail Mary that they were going for, to just throw it all out, put all the chips on the table and go for it. And we like the way that things turned out. We're going to go into the case with the same evidence that we started with. And that's amazing. That's a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying game, set, match, right, with that DNA evidence that ties what would have been a complete stranger right to the bed where your daughter was murdered. I mean, that is a hell of a bad fact for defense. Listen, the way it works is on their side of the ledger, Bryan Kohberger can cry into his defense attorney's shoulders and ask, what's next? What do we do? What happens? On your side of the ledger, it's the prosecutors. Effectively, they're your lawyers. Do they talk to you? Do they get you through this? Do they help you with the patience factor as you wait all these months for these decisions?
The communication, it comes and goes. I mean, I try to assume that they're just super, super busy, but I'm an active person, so I wouldn't find my own lawyer. I found my own prosecutor, my own person who understands law to an extent that they do, even better than some of the people that are in that courtroom. So I feel like we're pretty much informed, and we're prepared for what's going to happen, and we're all working as one unit. And it's good to have days like this. You know, it took a long time, but you know, and people like Payne and Moyer, who literally were dragged through the mud, and people accuse those guys of lying or misrepresenting. You know, it's a great day for them. These are men that dedicated their lives to our community, and today is a day for us to all embrace that everybody's seen them doing a good job, and everything that they did will be part of the case, and all those challenges were invalid.
You were referencing that you went and got your own lawyer, that Shannon Gray. We've spoken to him a lot. He seems very invested and certainly very caring when it comes to yours and your family's benefit here. And you know, it's like you still want to know what else, like what still worries you. This is a great day. Obviously, this is the best day. But what still worries you ahead?
There's little pieces. If you read all through all the documentation, there's a lot of paperwork that came out today, a lot of details that weren't out. We look forward to that because there's details that we've had to hide, the things that we've had to keep to our chest. And the more that once they say it, then we can say it. You know, we can bring more details out. And we said a kill kit, you're going to read those documentations. You're going to find out that this individual left that house and people spotted, you know, these things that were going out with him. And we bring that up because people, please don't forget, this guy was not a part of our community. He was not a part of North Idaho. He's not even a citizen of Idaho. This person came here with a plan, premeditated, full-blooded murder. And then he wanted to be a successful murderer, like a serial killer, somebody he studied. This is a sick individual that killed people sleeping in their beds, and there is no reason to have capital punishment if this isn't the case for it. So we're going to rely on all the people in the true crime community, all the people watching this, because it's going to get rough. We're going to have to put somebody all the way to the very ends of justice, but I think that's necessary. I feel like some of the reasons we have these mass shootings, school shootings and things, is because we don't do a good job of showing the very end of how this ends. And once kids see the full picture of what these disastrous behaviors are, maybe that puts a little bit in their head to slow down, think it through, talk to a friend, talk to a counselor, go to your school, communicate with somebody. Don't do this. Don't make one of these decisions where you take a bunch of people along with you.
We're just looking at the pictures of the people we should be talking about tonight. Your daughter, Kaylee, her best friend, Maddie, Xana in the far right there on the bottom right, and Ethan, her boyfriend. You know, maybe it's not coincidental, Steve, that all of this flurry of activity recently in the Idaho House overwhelmingly passed legislation that would make the firing squad the first method of execution, not the backup method, not the choice, but the first method of execution, which I think would send shivers down the spine of Brian Kohberger tonight, knowing that his case is so much harder to win. Do you follow the news of the firing squad and the plans for Idaho?
I don't follow it. I help make it. I'm talking to some of these individuals in the state of Idaho. We're definitely being out there. If they need somebody to sit in front of a camera and take a little bit of time to help identify what, I hate to say victim, but somebody going through this and to rally support around a law. And you don't know until you go through it, man. This is real and it's ugly. And when somebody kills you while you're in your bed, you haven't done anything to deserve it. And I'll be that person. I'll be that person to stand in front of the camera and drum up some support. And yes, Bruce is the main guy behind the last Bill 37 here in Idaho. So yeah, I've reached out to him. I've spoken with him. I've spoken with even others before and after. And it doesn't even just end in Idaho. I mean, there's other things in the works where maybe some of these individuals don't even stay in this state. Maybe he can keep being a drifter and we can drift him right on to El Salvador or one of these other locations where they can host these monsters and they can be around the people that they look up to.
Steve, I'm happy for you and your family that you got this news today. You deserve good news. You've been waiting a long time. You've been patient. This is nothing anyone can imagine if they're not walking in your shoes. So thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
And thank you. And keep me posted on your efforts. As you said, you're speaking to politicians and those who are making this change. Keep us posted on your efforts. Appreciate this.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Steve Gonsalves joining us tonight. Obviously, for the Gonsalves family, this is the news they were hoping for. Any other news other than that would have been devastating. Still have a lot ahead. Coming up next, the U.S. military pilot was crystal clear when he said the words, "This is going to sound weird," end quote, because what he reported was indeed very weird. The actual cockpit voice recording from a close encounter at 20,000 feet. Why months later, no one knows what it was. But there are plenty of theories. I'm going to play you that tape full on and the analysis from the man who makes it his business to know what's happening. Next.
And adult diapers. I even got 30% off my first order with Auto Ship and Save. And I got fast, free shipping. Carewell makes home healthcare shopping easy. Get 30% off your first order at carewell.com.
If you've been waiting for just one more documented sighting by a trained and credible witness of an unexplained aerial phenomenon before you finally make up your mind, then tonight might just be your night. I got a new cockpit voice recording of a U.S. military pilot describing a sighting at 20,000 feet, somewhere between L.A. and San Jose, California, last September. What you're about to hear is the voices of the pilot and air traffic controllers, and it's set to computer animation. Take a look.
LA Thunder, Troy 2-1.
Troy 2-1, go ahead.
It's not weird, but I just had something pass underneath my wing, maybe like a football-sized object right underneath our wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Do you think it was a drone or?
I have no idea. I got my sensor operator looking for it on the camera right now. We'll see if we can find it. But it's like a dark gray cylindrical object, and it was probably the size of a football, and it passed maybe 10 feet under our right wing.
Troy 2-1, Roger. Thank you for the report. Keep me advised if you find anything else out.
Yeah, we'll do. We're looking for it now. And so, correction. LA Center, Troy 2-1. We got something on air-to-air radar. We're trying to get visual on it.
Troy 2-1, Roger.
And LA Center 094, bearing from us for about 60 miles is where it is now.
Troy 2-1, say again.
094 bearing from us, about 60 miles away is where we're picking it up now.
Play 1-5, Oakland.
Troy 2-1, Roger, thank you.
All right. This guy was stopped at 14 for him because we were busy. There was some UFO reported here, but that's all taken care of now, so you don't have to worry about it unless you want to talk to Aaron. It was earlier, but it's gone.
I may not have to worry about it, but I am plenty worried about it. This is where I call in Ben Hansen to help me make heads or tails of this. Ben is a former FBI special agent and host of UFO Witness on Discovery Plus. He managed to secure that recording that you just heard because it was not made available to the public. Ben, what is your take?
This is a really interesting case. It was actually the air traffic controller who reported it to the National UFO Reporting Center, or NUFORC. So NUFORC is actually cited in the FAA regs as one of the places where pilots can go to make reports. So first, we want to thank the controller for reporting it, and also for the pilots. This was a Homeland Security flight, actually. So they were on, I don't want to say covert, but they were on a mission, probably doing drug interdiction or something like that. And they're flying along and they see this thing. So very experienced pilots. Now, this particular aircraft, too, is a Beechcraft 350C, which they've converted to include a very sensitive and complex radar array. So you see that dome on the top of it. It's actually there to track, drug traffickers and things like that. So when they call this thing in, this is about 2:30 in the afternoon. It's September 17th of last year. It's broad daylight. They got a good look at this thing, cylindrical, dark object that passes underneath their wings so close. So, I mean, obviously you can see there's big problems with that happening in controlled airspace like they were, and they weren't notified of any air traffic that was supposed to be in the area.
So the animation, by the way, it's so realistic, I was caught off guard. Was that sort of made with the help of those who witnessed it so that it's as accurate as it can be?
Well, in this case, my team has not spoken with the crew, as you can imagine, because the sensitivity of probably what they were doing on this mission, it wouldn't benefit them to come forward and talk to the public quite yet. We'd encourage it, yes, but this was our rendering of just based on the audio that we had. It's a guess, right? That object could have gone underneath from left to right, forward to back. We don't know. But we do know their description is pretty exact.
I'm also sort of gobsmacked by 20,000 feet because I don't think that ground-controlled, unmanned flights can operate at that altitude. Call me crazy. I think at one point they asked if it was a drone. What's the word on the possibility of some kind of a drone activity?
So it could be. It would be very rare, but hobby drones can go up that high. Obviously, military can as well. This occurred near what we call military operations area, but it was not in that airspace. So anyone who was flying something to test a commercial type of drone or something would have had to call in. Now, the other thing that's very interesting about this is you hear them call out what they believe they're tracking this object about 60 miles away because they've got their own airborne radar. And the pilot calls back to air traffic control, says, we think we have it. Now, debatable whether their radar array could see something this small at 60 miles. But if true, within the 2 minutes when they called back, that would place this object going about Mach 2. Okay, from them to gain that much distance in that amount of time. So that would absolutely, in my opinion, eliminate any prosaic explanation of a drone or anything of that nature.
Mach 2 just sent chills down my spine as well. The other question I have for you, it's not the first time I've heard the description of a football-shaped object. Why do we keep hearing football-shaped objects?
Well, it kind of it brings back the description that was given of what we call the Tic Tac UFO, right? The Navy videos that emerged in the New York Times story. And so these Tic Tac shaped objects are very common now. We've heard a lot of pilots describing them. So when someone says cylindrical to me, and they don't describe any propulsion system, no wings, nothing trailing off the back of it, you might be talking about a non-conventional method of propulsion, which in itself could be very exotic. Doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial, but something very strange is going on. The other thing to point out is the radar data that we obtained. This is actual radar data where the air traffic controllers pointed out to me that were helping me with the Freedom of Information request, and they said, there's something here that doesn't quite look right. It's noteworthy because we have 3 different primary radar returns. Those plus symbols you see on your screen indicate a strong radar return of an uncorrelated object. What that means is it's not, it doesn't have a beacon, it doesn't have a transponder. There's at least 3 different objects that showed up 10 minutes before this was reported by the crew. We don't know if it's related. However, the air traffic controller I spoke to said it looks as if this thing's going 200 to 250 knots per hour, which is 300 miles an hour.
Ben, you need to call me the next time you hear something about this. I am feeling freaked out by it, and I'm only going to feel better when you make me feel better. Ben Henson, thank you for this.
You're welcome. We'll keep you updated.
I appreciate that. Now for something completely different. I would like to introduce you to K-9 Officer Hurricane. He was not just a good boy, but by one measure, he was the best boy ever. After the break, you're going to hear all about him and why he is making news tonight.
Versus. Let's take a look at those scenarios.
JP Morgan Wealth Management has advisors in Chase branches and tools like Wealth Plan to help keep you on track. When you're planning for it all, the answer is JP Morgan Wealth Management.
All dogs are heroes, but maybe none more than K-9 Hurricane, in my opinion. Hurricane was a special ops K-9 with the U.S. Secret Service. His name and reputation were made on the night of October 22nd, 2014. That is when an intruder jumped the White House fence and came within 100 yards of President Obama and the First Lady, but not one step closer because of Hurricane. He met the intruder, took him down full speed, 69 pounds of Belgian Malinois. He went on to become the most decorated K-9 in U.S. history. He won the Secret Service Award for Merit, the Homeland Security Award for Valor, the Animals in War and Peace Distinguished Service Medal, and too many others for me to even name here. But last week, at age 15, K-9 Hurricane died. Just hours earlier, he was given an honor flight on Southwest Airlines Freedom 1 plane for one last reunion with his teammates. Hurricane's legacy will live on through a charity called Hurricane's Heroes, which has already covered vet bills for more than 150 retired police and military dogs. If you have a doggy curled up at your feet or next to you on the couch, I invite you to give him a cuddle in Hurricane's honor. I know I will. That's all for tonight. Cuomo's next.